So look, I get this. You're mad, and you're justifiably mad, and you're going to be unmad in the near future. What I'm wondering about today is what will be that thing, that pivoting point that makes you unmad. Good afternoon to you. Good Wednesday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show, and this is the one that will attempt to lay out what it'll look like when you, the big softy, will cave and declare yourself not so much satisfied with everything that's happening in Steelers land, but more, I'm back in. And I'm not going to spend my entire day, my entire night, even when I'm sleeping, complaining about the state of the franchise. You can say, and I believe you, I'm out until Mike Tomlin's gone. I get those all the time. Got several more just today from the people who watch this or listen to my stuff or read my stuff. That's it. Forget it. I can't handle it anymore. This isn't the franchise I knew. This isn't the franchise that I grew up with. I'm out until Tomlin's out. Okay, nice. But here's the thing. In the fairly near future, meaning the middle of next month, the Steelers are going to have free agents that they can chase, that they can sign, that can add really to the roster in ways that probably have never been done before in the franchise's history. The numbers here, I got to find this, are staggering. And they're even more staggering today than they were yesterday. The salary cap, this was reported just today, was expected to be $277.5 million. It's now going to be $281.5 million. Last year was $255. The cap's gone up $54 million just over the past 2 years alone. Now, yes, I get it. And I know the cap people freak about this whenever you get excited about the cap expanding, because they will remind you that it expands for everybody, not just for your favorite team. And as a result, everybody gets to spend a little bit more, and it kind of evens things out. But from the Steelers' own perspective, they could have as much as $62.26 million in cap space. So even if Justin Fields were to cost them, let's say, 1/3 of that, however it is that they would structure something with Justin would end up being somewhere in the 20 range for a year, then you're still talking about a figure that this team's never had going into a summer. You're still talking about, at least in my view, a roster or a starting 22, I should say, that doesn't really require you to spend a whole lot to address the more glaring shortcomings. Or, better yet, they've already got a young player in that spot that you don't have to be paying any more than, pretty much what rookies get, or second-year players or third-year players, guys on their first deals. This is as close as it comes to a figurative Christmas morning for a football fan. And for a fan of the Steelers, the team that does not tend to engage much in this sort of activity, well, I'm just going to remind you, or ask you to remind yourself, of how you felt when they picked up Patrick Queen. Not what, he didn't have this game or that game as the season went along. It took a little too much time for him to get comfortable with the green dot and all that other stuff. I'm talking about how you felt on that day. Now imagine several of those days, and then imagine still spending the whole day thinking about Tomlin. When we come back, I'll be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. coverage that connects.
Joined now, as always, by Chris Halleck. Chris, the NFL salary cap just keeps going up and up and up. And as I just mentioned in the opening segment, it goes up for everybody, not just your team. Although it's funny how you can look at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you go, ooh, bonanza for the Steelers. Well, no, everybody's getting that money. But at the same time, it still feels like additional flexibility, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because some people will see the cap number, which based off of the estimate that was given from the league to teams now so that they can further plan ahead of the combine, they can have anywhere between 58 to 62.3 million in cap space. And people will see that number and think they have that much money to spend, when in theory, you got to set aside about 10 million of that so that they can sign draft picks, so they can also have wiggle room during the season, because every dollar is accounted for during the season. And while in the offseason, only the top 51 contracts are counted, when it comes to that salary cap room. And so it's not that exact number, but it's still, when you even talk about more than $50 million in cap space, knowing that there's also contracts that can be restructured, knowing that there's other players that can be cut, they got money to spend this offseason. There's no doubt about that.
They do. They also have to sign Justin Fields. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I don't recall any one player stirring up a wider range of potential salaries in the various debates and discussions the way Justin has. I've seen people say that it'll be as low as $7 million a year.
No way.
And I've seen that it could be 30. So if you're, let me ask you this, because this is a related subject. If you're Justin, why wouldn't you just take a nice 1 year, prove it? Why wouldn't you do that?
Because if you look at the quarterback free agency class, Sam Darnold's better, no doubt about that. Who else is better? And just free agents. We're not talking about trade targets like Matthew Stafford. I mean, you could make a case for possibly Aaron Rodgers because he's going to get cut. But in terms of, like, those are all older guys. A lot of the main guys that are going to be available in free agency are way older. Justin Fields is 25 years old, going to be going into his age 26 season. When you're talking about signing a guy, he's got the most upside of just about any quarterback out there. So that costs money. That comes with the potential of, like, listen, this could still be a franchise guy. And some people will hear that and be like, no, there's no way. He's already played 4 years. The Steelers are not the only ones who think that. There are other teams out there who are intrigued by Justin Fields.
Oh, I have no doubt. But I'm saying from his own standpoint, if you believe in yourself the way I think you and I would agree that this young man does, if you feel strongly about your own NFL trajectory, why not just take the 1 year and say, here's 1 and 20, okay? But that's all I want, because I am going to prove it. And then the next contract that I get will be that great big mega whatever that you see other guys getting.
I think it's just because of you want stability. Every player wants stability. Players don't like 1 year contracts. They want something that shows a commitment beyond just a year. I think it's for when you look at a guy like Justin, who is only 25 years old, who's going to be playing in his age 26 season. He wants to know that the next place that he's going, whether it's staying in Pittsburgh or going elsewhere, is going to be a place where he knows he can keep his feet on the ground and really focus in and invest, just as that team is going to invest in him. He wants to be in a good situation. And so it's not just about the money. It's also about stability and not knowing that you're going to be going through this every March.
My hero was Darrelle Revis. Remember when he was doing this?
Yeah.
He just went on 1 year deals every year, wherever it was. He would just take, you know what, just give me all this. I'll come back next year for another one. And he would just constantly exceed it and exceed everybody's expectations and value and all that other stuff. If I see the Steelers salary cap situation as, all right, one way or another, Justin gets signed, somebody gets signed, okay? You're still left with around 40 million or so on the table. What's your first position you're addressing? First one.
Probably wide receiver, but I'm also
in free agency.
Yes.
Okay.
Or trade. I don't just count it as free agent. It's free agency or trade. But I'm also really intrigued by cornerback. There are some really good cornerbacks in free agency. And yes, it is a position of need for the Steelers because Dante Jackson's a free agent. Cam Sutton's a free agent. And yeah, Beanie Bishop, I'm intrigued. So he could still be your answer at slot. But, if you have the ability to sign a slot corner, I'm sorry, you want to make the defense better. I understand people are like, it's already the highest paid defense. You got to invest what you got to invest in order to make the team better. And right now, cornerbacks matter.
That stuff, generally speaking, that stuff doesn't matter. The highest paid defense part, because a lot of what you have on offense is young enough that they're still playing on their first contract. So you don't need to. What are you going to do? Just hand the money for no reason? No.
4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen are on their rookie contracts right now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So when I go to the other side of the football, I think of corner. When I think of a position where I don't just want, but need at least some experience, I think of corner.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that that's going to be where the money gets spent. Now, wide receivers, that's a tough one, man, because there's all kinds of questions you have to answer before you even get to that point. What happens to George Pickens? How much would you prioritize that position in the draft? I'm of the opinion I want the wide receivers younger, when they're less diva-ish, okay? And I want them to come in with a, good, healthy attitude, but also to be their youngest and best, most athletic selves. So for me, it would be corner. Yeah. But, Chris, we're talking about $40 million here. So we're not done. Give me another one.
So you talk about corner. So the reason why I say wide receiver, I look at a guy like Cooper Kupp, who would be a trade target, obviously. Yeah, but I look at a guy like that, and the main reason why is because it's not just about adding talent, because he's not the guy who used to be in 2021. But you're talking about a guy who is very quarterback friendly. Almost doesn't matter who your quarterback is. He's going to be able. He's flexible enough and versatile enough to be able to adapt.
And he'll come back to you.
Yes,
which and nobody on the current team does.
Right, and he's also a really good character guy. You want to get a guy who can come into that room and be a leader, whether George Pickens is in there or not, especially if he's in there, and he can help come in and be a leader and help kind of set the culture in that room. They need a guy like that. They need a guy who can help with that.
And he costs money. So that's also, that goes into your salary cap as well. It's not all about free agency. It's a great point. But you didn't give me another position. You got to give me another one here, because there's a lot of money sitting here in this wallet. It's bulging, and it's time to get rid of it.
Well, I mean, okay, we talk about offensive line. 4 of the 5 starters are on their rookie contracts. Well, Dan Moore's going to be leaving.
Yes.
You got to get another tackle. You can't just go in there with Broderick Jones and Troy Fouts on him. So you got to get another tackle.
Get a swing.
Yeah. Get a swing tackle. Those still cost money.
Yes.
You got to get another guard. Whether you bring Nate Herbig back or whether you bring in another third guard, whoever it is, you got to bring those two positions combined. That's going to cost some money too. And whether you cut Larry Ogunjobi and go sign somebody else or whatever, you got to defensive tackle has to be. I understand it's probably going to be addressed in the draft and probably early in the draft, but defensive tackle, I wouldn't necessarily rule that out either, because if they really are focused on beefing up the trenches, money is going to be invested there, whether it's a first round pick, which will be the most expensive most expensive draft pick, or whether they sign several guys in free agency to help beef up the depth there. Because remember, when we're talking about what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl, it wasn't just 4 guys. It was a 4-man rush every time, but it wasn't just 4 guys. They kept rotating guys because they had insane depth up there too. So you could see some investment there, whether it be a big name guy. I don't think it'll be that, or whether it be a really good depth guy at the same time as well.
Great stuff as always, Chris. When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
For today's J1Q, we head overseas to Ed Beckham in Sussex, England.
Hi DK, love the show. After the exciting news of the Steelers coming over to Europe, will you be going to Dublin? Also, can you congratulate your loyal listener, Eagles fan Lauren, on their Super Bowl victory? She listens every day with me. Thank you.
No, I'm not doing that. Lauren, thanks for listening to the show. I'm not congratulating people from Philadelphia or even people who support Philadelphia on anything. Yes, Ed, I am, of course, coming to Dublin, Ireland. I don't miss Steelers games. That's just the nature of the job. This is where you go, and it's what you have to do. That said, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Steelers in Dublin specifically. I covered the Steelers game in London in 2013. It's been way too long since they've been out of the country. In my mind, I very much believe in spreading the great sport of football globally. I also believe that the only way to do that realistically is to show people the best version of your product. Now, yes, I know the best version of the product is not the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been foisted upon the good people of London for far too long. It'd be way better to see that city get its own franchise, but it also would be way, way better within that logistically to have an entire European division. Now, which cities would be involved in that? London would obviously be one. You need to have 3 more. You'd absolutely have one in Germany, given the history there. Barcelona has a history with the World League. Amsterdam has a history with the World League. There's work to do in figuring out that sort of thing. But that's really where this would go, and then the NFL would become a 36-team league. You think I'm nuts? Just watch. This is actually the way this is going to play out. As far as Dublin goes, I went to Dublin in 2019, and it was during football season. It was because one of my very favorite bands, the Vapors, had gotten back together. They did Turning Japanese, for those of you who would go back to the New Wave era. And they were reuniting after 30-some years. And their first show was going to be in Dublin at this, like punk-style club. I just couldn't pass that up. I booked a flight on Aer Lingus through Boston, went right into Dublin. This was on a Friday. And got in, saw the show, loved it. Actually met the guys and everything because they were fascinated that someone would come all the way from Pittsburgh to see them. And then got out the next morning to fly directly to Miami to cover the Steelers playing a game against the Dolphins. You might remember that game because it was the one where some dude from the Dolphins ran for like 200 and billions and billions and billions of additional yards on the ground. Can't remember his name at the moment. But I loved Dublin. I have recommended it up, down, and sideways to people, having nothing to do with football or anything. It's just an amazing place, and it's kind of place, I dare say, that Pittsburghers would enjoy, not just because you can go drinking from every establishment to the next. I don't even drink. I appreciate you, my man. I will be there. It'd be cool if you're there as well. All you got to do is hop across that little pond there that separates you. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.